Yeah.
This is the conference committee on what bill are we on? 868. Transportation bill, fiscal year 2025. So we left this morning with some open sections, and my understanding was the House was going to come back and maybe give us their proposal. We also we have a new document.
We do have a new document, and you can proceed however you like. If you want to, we left off at.
Oh yeah, that's why
I think it was section 30. Do you want to just kind of finish that end of it, or do you want to back up?
We could have Jen come up to the witness seat, or the ledge council, I should say, or if you want to do that, and then I was looking at the ETLE bill, so if we could
great.
her on that, if we could ever get to that section. So I have my stuff here. So we ended.
I think we ended at the Senate as password, section 30 of the Senate as password, which is on the last page of.
Oh yeah, so
if I'm working, if I'm working from the new updated side by side.
So the central garage with the amendment. So we had passed language. This came, I think, at the very end, right when you guys were passing the T-bill. The agency wanted to get permission to purchase this property. We, agreed with the need of a central garage in a location that was not in a floodplain. We put in language that was very specific to the site. We said the address of the site. We heard from the town of Berlin. They were kind of surprised and wanted some more process around that. And so we didn't really have time to see how that was all going to work out, the relationship between the AOT and the town. So we changed the language to say they have $2 million to purchase property, and that when they do so, they would work with whatever town that they have. So we left it at that because that was just an amendment we made on the floor to deal with that one issue. So that's what that section is, and what we where we landed at this point.
And we heard some testimony too from the agency, I think prior to that floor amendment, or the concerns from from Berlin. And I don't think our committee is opposed to, I think there's been long recognition since Irene that the garage needs to be moved. So I don't think that's a problem, but do we have a practice of giving them the okay without the location? I mean, that's just a question that I think came up, right? I mean, I looked at the better members of our committee.
Yeah.
And do you want to, like, typically, it's, I think in statute that they're supposed to come to JTOC. I mean, I don't know how, it's kind of, we're in an in-between phase, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, we put in the statute that anything over $500,000, obviously they needed approval. We did that for a reason, just for transparency, letting us know what we're locking ourselves into. Like Sheriff Bobby said, we're all on board of, getting them out of, their current location. There's no question about that, but sort of giving them like a blank, open check in a sense of they can buy it wherever. I think there's need a little bit of guardrails on it, and I don't know if you'd be amenable to having like JTOC, for that session to sign off on it, saying, hey,
I think I agree with Tim, but I remember when we were trying to decide whether we were going to rebuild Waterbury and Waterbury. Concerns were that we wouldn't do Waterbury and Waterbury because the employees that were based in that, so it's kind of concerning. It was the same with moving the lab, the health lab, not TA. Down to VTC, there was concern. We need to make sure we have employee buy-in before they move on there. So I'm just wondering if they want, and I don't like to find time. But I'm wondering if we should say something about it, don't do the area or but maybe bring them down too much. I'm not sure.
I more than doing that, I would be amenable to some language that just said when they find a site that they come and get approved from JTOC, because that would be pretty easy. You can do it remote, maybe.
I think
I don't know what our rules would require, but if JTOC could meet remotely, or if everybody got to come to Montpelier for a meeting.
Generally, JTOC meets on the same days that the joint fiscal
Okay,
committee
people
meets
are
because
here
the majority of the members of that committee are on joint.
Right.
So I think that's when, and that meets pretty frequently during the off session.
Okay.
Could it be approved for the site and that they've been contemplating, but then any other site would need to come to JTOC?
Yeah.
I think I'd be.
Yeah. Yeah, we could say if they want to buy this, put the address back in there. Say if they want to buy this property, they can buy it. If they're going to buy a different property, they need JTOC approval. So that's something you could.
Yeah. I think that would be fine.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, yep, okay.
Okay. The railroad leases.
Yeah, tell us.
This is came up because this railroad that the state owns that goes from Montpelier to Berry, is bringing out a lot of old granite flag rock, is up for renewal. And the current statutory language requires them to come to the General Assembly and to get approval from the governor and the General Assembly. And if not the General Assembly, it has to get joint fiscal committee and yeah, just it says approval from a special committee consisting of the joint fiscal committee and the chairs of House and Senate Transportation.
That would be JTOC,
Is that JTOC?
right?
Yes, it's just old statute.
Yeah.
JTOC is I'm sorry, Chris Ripp Joint Fiscal, JTOC is a smaller subset. JTOC is the 4 money
Oh,
chairs
right.
plus the 2 transportation chairs. JFC is 10 members.
Right.
Oh,
All the
thank you.
vice chairs and so if they came to us and said that language is kind of old, we could use JTOC or something else. But we said, because of this 49 CFR, this federal regulation, we can't really do much on the leases other than about the money or the length of time. So the request from AOT was to say they should just be able to renew these leases and they not come and get approval from the state, because we're kind of trusting AOT to do that work. There was concern on the floor about that was giving up too much authority, even though we're preempted by the feds on basically anything we might want to do. We still want to have some kind of feedback, connection to the legislature on this process. So what we said is that they will notify the Senate committees on transportation, or if the General Assembly's not in session, the Joint Transportation Oversight Committee, when they're within 12 months of renewing the lease. So that would give any legislator the opportunity to say, like, okay, I want to dig into this. I want to lobby AOT, say, hey, you should do this, you should do that. But when a lease is not up, they don't have to come get approval. It's basically what we did. And we could hear from Michelle more if you want to, so that the problems that we're trying to address.
I think that does address it. I think because they are long leases, like they're 50 years long, right? So it is kind of a big deal, right? When but at the same time, we don't want to constrain them.
We're so restricted as far as what we can do with them because they're that federal part of it. It's just that there's not a lot we can do.
But to notify, so the language is to notify, the amendment was to notify the chairs of the.
This was the amendment.
Oh, okay, I don't know.
It's in the bill as passed, but
Maybe I have an older version.
this was on the last day. So we also,
As passed by not this committee's.
yeah, that's
Maybe it's in here, maybe I just thought.
If that looks like
Section
it, that looks like it's a, that's not the that's an earlier version, that's not the,
Yeah.
So if you want to
the Senate proposal.
I don't know if we
So
have.
we also took out the language that they, within 10 days of signing a new lease, they can notify us. But we're basically saying they need to notify us if a lease is coming up, right, a year ahead in advance, so that we're always gonna be here before it comes up, and then that gets.
Including getting extensions as well.
And if that notification isn't granted or, given to us, does it prevent them from moving forward? Or do they,
Doesn't.
you mean, I don't know, if you should spell that out, maybe they just say, yeah, whatever, forgot.
Okay, Michelle has it.
Yeah.
We are not allowed by the Surface Transportation Board to not renew a lease without a cause that the Surface Transportation Board has indicated that is reasonable.
Right, and this is just new leases, that was another thing we clarified. If they were to do, I mean, this is only renewing leases. If there's a new lease, then it would need approval. So this part of the statute, if I'm remembering correctly, is just about renewing leases. So, and that they have to renew a lease. If they don't renew the lease, then the railroad would basically take us to court in DC and saying the state of Vermont's being infringing on our rights to run the railroad.
I mean, I just, the history of the Whacker line was always a thorn in, at least the house's side of the way that was structured. I mean, we were paying a couple $100,000. It was just a bad deal from our standpoint.
Yeah, when I first got here, I was like, oh my God, everything. But I kind of learned why, and then, which may or may not give you any more reason to support this language, is that the new lease doesn't have us paying them to run the railroad.
Yeah, I know, that gives me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're okay with it, yeah, that's helpful to go a little deeper.
So railroad leases are okay, and then central garage.
We're okay.
Well, we're keeping it up until we see the language that Ledge Council.
Mr. Chair, would you mind, I have a clarifying question.
Who are you?
Yeah, for the second time, Chris Rick joined us, and I still am. I was hoping you'd entertain a clarifying question for Ledge Council's benefit when she goes and drafts the central garage piece, but is your intent to require affirmative approval from JTOC if there is a change in site, or to stay consistent with what is in the green books, where typically there's a notification requirement and JTOC, it has sort of a disapproval, or it's like it will be deemed approved if JTOC does not signal its disapproval. Because there are two different constructs. One is, the disapproval piece is what's in the books now, without requiring, it all comes down to, do you want to require a JTOC meeting to do anything, or convene a JTOC meeting if you want to disapprove?
And that's the way that the green books now for any purchase over 500,000.
Yes, typically the agency secretary gives notification to JTOC, and like if JTOC does not disapprove it within, I think, 30 days, then it's deemed approved.
And the chair calls the meeting, and the chair switches back.
By any of them, yeah.
Just based on past history, I would have a little bit of heartburn. You don't have to look too far from what the agency did over the summer, buying land up in Franklin County. Went ahead and did it, then came before JTOC, and it was like a done deal. So I would prefer that you need affirmative yes, just I do
think that's consistent.
What's that?
Putting the language here from the statute, I do think affirmative approval does seem to be consistent with what's in the statute.
With that one.
This is the provision we're saying pursuant to 26.
Okay, here it is on that one. Yeah, I think we definitely put things in prior T-bills that had JTOC had, it was okay unless JTOC weighed in with their disapproval.
So this is just the opposite.
Right, it seems
This
in
has
here.
specific prior approval, okay.
Okay, yeah.
So then
So I
that's
think I'll
cool,
make
yeah.
a reference to this.
This
Sorry to interrupt, I just thought it was
consistent.
We're gonna
going
reference
where you
that.
wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay,
For adjusting, it's not that parcel.
Yeah.
with the, yes, so.
Okay. So I think that was the only other things that we had is section 32. We agreed to the earmark reporting. We're okay to agree with your desire to get those
Okay.
earmark reports. I think we agreed to 34.
Yes, we had previously.
And then mileage smart, that was about the lowering the income threshold.
I think I may have heard this, but I don't know if my colleagues have heard.
So when we set up the program, it said that it basically shall be for Vermonters that are under 80% median income. Because they're running through that money, I don't know if you guys heard that testimony, how fast the mileage smart is going. They wanted to maybe restrict the money, to have it go further to get to when maybe new money would come in. So, but instead of lowering the incentive, they wanted to target lower income Vermonters. So move that from 80% to let's say 70% or 60%. And they realized they couldn't do it because the statute said it shall be 80%. So
Because
this,
we did some of the stuff in the BAA, we made some changes.
Yeah.
We did some changes.
but we didn't change
But we didn't
this.
change this.
So this would allow them to basically change it to something lower than 80. They couldn't go above 80, but they could go below 80. We don't say where they need to go, but if they wanted to change to 70, 60, 50, they could do that based on program. I know I'm speaking with Paul Zabriskie at Capstone, he thought moving to 60, working with some of these people that sometimes, we just thought, if we really want to benefit the lowest income that still have ability to purchase these vehicles, he thought that would be a good way to change, but he would work with the agency. It would be the agency's decision, not Capstone.
But the request came from Capstone, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it does say based on available funding or applicant volume or both, so they can prioritize the lower income households.
And we had all this debate about whether we say up to or below, or it was amazing how much time we spent on that topic.
Us too. I think this is, any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess my only comment, should we, I mean, it's almost like I would have this like session law, meaning just like short term, because if we do get that grant in July, that's gonna be, like, hopefully, $100 million. Should we have those parameters in place or just leave it as is to make sure more people of the lower spectrum are getting it? Because they're just worried about the money running out. So should this language just be a shorter? Would be my own.
Yeah.
I can go with it.
Yeah, I think
throw that out there.
I think you're speaking for some of the concerns that came up in our committee, just
Yeah.
like, we understand that the money's running out and that we want to make it stretch, but at a certain point, does it not get to the peak,
Well, if it gets refilled, replenished.
Yeah, so.
You might want to keep it at 60%, even if there is more money.
Yeah, I mean, if it becomes July
At
and there's
60
a
or
Christmas.
80,
Yeah,
or
or I
80%.
mean, whatever it's at now.
Yeah.
Well, it could move
It's at
this.
80 now, so this would
Okay.
keep it, if it's helpful.
Yeah.
It says it provides not more than one, and Jennifer Carpin, legislative counsel, because I don't think I said that, more than one point of sale voucher, existing law up to $5,000 to an individual who is a member of a household with an adjusted gross income at or below 80% of state median income, provided, however, that the agency of transportation may reduce the income eligibility threshold based on available funding or applicant volume or both in order to prioritize vouchers for households with lower income.
So I think they could go back to 80 if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Yes, if they had funding and applicant volume wasn't, significantly in excess of what the available funds could support, they wouldn't meet that criteria.
Yeah, I mean,
Considering that it came from
yeah,
Capstone.
they still could go lower if they wanted
Yeah.
to, but they have discretion.
Those may not.
Yeah.
I think-
Okay, you're clear with that?
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's the effective date.
Okay, so we'll come to the effective date. All right, so, we hope, is it March?
Yes.
Going back to the earlier section, so we did a little bit of work since we last saw you early this morning. So why don't I give these around, right? Do you have I don't know why, I don't know if I have.
I come, I can share one.
Here, no, here, we have enough, I think, I have an extra copy for Jen. Do
No, you're okay, I have my own and I was
Does
just,
anyone else need?
do you want me to put it up on the screen? as well?
Sure, I think that might be helpful to help us stay focused. So I think we were coming back, and we we hope that this will get this, get it
Wrapped
done
up.
here, it will get us wrapped up. And appreciate all the, the proposal that you all came up with. So we have it on the screen and we have it in front of you. So we were, I might ask, we're trying to do this in bullet points, but hopefully this makes some sense. I think I'm gonna describe the concept rather than looking only at the bullet points. So I think it's clear the Senate and the House committees agree that we want to fund make sure that EV charging is available to folks who don't own their homes. And we also heard from you, your concern that AOT might not be able to manage taking like 1.7 out of the central garage using those carbon reduction funds. But we felt that the construct that we shared or proposed gave us money that was more flexible, didn't require a 20% match. So that would be taking, rather than our proposal, going back to our house proposal and being, reducing it. So taking, instead of 1.7, reducing that to $1.1 million from the carbon reduction funding that had been going to Sprinter vans, just, instead of 1.7, reducing it to 1.1. And having it go through the steps. I'm not gonna, going through the steps so that it comes out as state flexible money. And then that plus later we agreed to the EV infrastructure fee. That together, the 1.1 with the EV infrastructure fee starting 600,000, which would be starting on a date certain, January 1st. I know you had October, we'll get that moving from October to January.
Yeah.
That together would comprise $1.7 million for ACCD's program. I hope I'm being clear because is everyone following our thinking?
Yeah.
So, because we wanted to make sure that, we didn't want to make it a total headache for AOT to be able to get some of the electric vehicles in their fleet, but thought that they could do some of it and that we would just have more flexibility with that funding to do what we had hoped to do. And I know that, because I think our committee felt, and it seemed like in this discussion with you all that, getting the funding for folks, either level 1 and level 2 charging for folks at their homes, that they're not, some of them could also be workplaces that are public, but the concern that we heard from you is that, that federal money really limits it. So this is what we were hoping. And then we can jump down to the EV.
Yeah, we just go through all of them
before we discuss them. So then if we go down to, it's that block of sections 3 through 6. Kind of sticking with going down. So I think we agreed to the town highway. We were together, both committees agreed to the 860,000. And then we thought by meeting you in the middle, by having public transit at 600,000 and town highway structures at 600,000. The way we got to that 600,000 for Green Mountain Transit was last year our committee supported the purchase of the fare boxes so that, and we heard in our committee that they had, with them not being able to get those fare boxes up, that their lost revenue is 600, like roughly $150,000 a month. So January, February, March, April, right? They're going live in May 1st. That's what Clayton Clark said. So that's what that is, and we thought, we would also, the way we saw it was like meeting in the middle on that. And then, do you want me just to continue?
Yeah.
Okay. And then included in that would be coming down. We appreciate that, we might be getting this grant coming out in the fall that the Climate Action Office and the is applying for. But we know that the e-bike program is not only popular, but it really, some people are using those bikes to get around, like getting out of cars. So we just, right now there's
can you remind me, is it income qualified only?
We did a lot of work on our end to really, similar to what Mild Smart, the proposal that we just talked about, we really narrowed it down, and it also had a verification for an attestation for income. So really that these dollars for e-bikes are not going to people who are just getting mountain bikes and driving all around. And that would just keep that program alive, and especially during the season where people are buying bikes. And then we would be okay, if we did that, we would, be okay with deleting that 50,000 that we had said in FY24 for e-bikes, like using that flexibility. So we'd be okay with deleting that.
Okay. I don't just I guess because we probably just need to talk about, so I guess if the Senate conference have any questions about this before we break to talk about, because we have to be on the floor at 1. And,
okay, you need to do it.
and we should talk about it, and then
Sure.
we might want to try to use them before we go explore Senator Ingles has to finish his report of the
Yeah,
capital.
we're due back at 1:15 too.
So I want to give ourselves a little bit of time. So is there any questions on these things?
Not for right now, no, I'm
Okay.
not ready to make any decision, but certainly would.
Michelle, did you have a quick comment?
Thank you, Senator. For the record, Michelle Boomhauer, Agency of Transportation. I just wanted to update you on one comment that was made earlier in the last session by Representative Corcoran. While there are $11 million in the central garage fund reserves, there are restricted and unrestricted funds in the reserves. And $8 million of that fund is restricted to fund vehicles we've already ordered. So we really only have $3 million in unrestricted funds, of which $2 million is going towards the purchase of the land for the central garage facility. Then the $1 million that's left is partly what we'll be relying on for both the District 8 garage and the new central garage, buildings, in the sort of broader scheme of things. So I just wanted to clarify that, the cascade of using the central garage funds for EV is still going to create pressure on replacement of vehicles that we plan for replacement.
Okay, and are you, so as far as what we talked about using the infrastructure fee for, are you okay with that? About having that only used for multifamily housing? Or are you guys thinking that would also go to the ACCD program? Not just in writ large?
I think I would, ACCD's program does go to
Well, I guess I'm thinking of the federal restrictions, so we would.
I don't think there wouldn't be any federal restrictions, so I think I would propose that it would be the House's language that you could use. But I do want to, there's something that I forgot to mention, and just kind of following up. We're proposing that, we did a lot of work on how much carry forward and reversions have happened over the last few years, and I have some printed, and there's been a lot of money carried forward in reversion from year to year pretty consistently.
The central garage fund?
Well, in general, the T fund, and so we would propose to add language. Every year we have this language for giving flexibility for them to backfill the jet maintenance. We would expand that to be able to backfill central garage as well. And then it's not in a priority order, but giving them flexibility to do that. Just because the money in the, this is something I got when I printed out. It is super tiny, but I made some copies if you care. I don't know. This is something that we went over with Chris Root from Joint Fiscal. I think it was last year.
Maybe you could,
Yeah, maybe
email us or send us.
I can send you because I can hardly read this.
My microfiche reader broke.
But I think it gives you a sense of we were pretty thoughtful and we didn't think that we were really gutted, but in terms of hearing about the tightness of that fund, that this provision could be helpful. Because we really think at the end of the day, it's very likely they could backfill central garage with those carry forwards as well as the maintenance. So I just want to clarify that that's in our proposal as well.
And did you 600,000 from the EV infrastructure fee? Did you get information that's what it would be for the half a year if it started in January and that's October?
Yeah, that's based on January 1. Yeah, which is when we anticipate that 15% adoption. I think this broad agreement that's when that would.
Okay. All right.
And then I think if you guys I know you want to break, but the EV, we kind of went over it. One other request. So I think you intended this in your language that the EV fees would sunset when the NBUF came into being, and I'm not sure if that language was.
So there is a sunset for the battery electric vehicles. It is, it automatically sunsets.
Okay, so
Right, the plug-in hybrids would continue to.
Yeah, so that language was all okay. And then, there has been some concern about mileage smart participants and how this fee impacts them. And we did reach out to AOT, to Michelle Boomhauer, about how we can exempt, whether it's, we thought went through like, oh, if DMV were to do it, that would be very difficult, but there could be some program, that there's some flexibility within the program, and Michelle, could I just, unless,
No, I think we need a break.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
so anyway, that's.
So